Hello everybody, John here from the Sports Department going over tonight's two-game LPL slate. I do think there are some spots on this slate, so not bad as far as two-game slates go. That said, there's a bit of a blowout in this first matchup here. We have TT at plus 700 against LNG minus 1400. Arguably the best performing and worst performing teams in the league. I mean, I don't think TT is actually the worst performing team in the league, but you are looking at 5-0 and 0-4. TT has no game wins so far this season. The interesting thing about this matchup, so when we look statistically, obviously it's a blowout, 1889 to 1608, plus 220 to minus 443. They do have a better first turret. TT, nice job, first turret. Maybe a spot for a bet there, first turret on TT. Dragon percentage back to LNG, and KPW DPL. A 19.1 for LNG and a 20.3 DPL for TT. That's a pretty good setup for LNG. Now, the part that's interesting to me about this is that we've all talked a little bit about how LNG is not only winning, but they've faced kind of a murderer's row. So they've faced BLG, FPX, JDG, Royal Never Give Up, and then they have a Victory 5 win. So they played three top 5 teams and then a middle of the table team, and they're still 5-0, which is pretty darn impressive. TT, on the other hand, though, here's their 4 matchups so far this year: FPX, JDG, WE, Top Esports. So they have maybe the hardest schedule in the entire league, especially when you account for how well LNG has played so far. They're playing what could amount to the top 5 teams in the league: FPX, JDG, WE, Top Esports. I would expect all those teams to be top 4 or 5. And then you have LNG, who's the best team in the league right now as far as their results. So they've faced an absolute murderer's row. That gets me excited about future slates for TT. I feel like we're going to be able to get some value on them. They're going to be 0-5, playing maybe the top 5 teams in the league currently. We're going to be able to get some value on them if they ever play an Ultra Prime or a Victory 5 or Rogue Warriors, OMG. OMG is a matchup I would love to see. I bet we get insane value if TT plays OMG. So worth noting just that TT's record is very bad and their stats are not great, but they have played basically the hardest teams in the league. LNG obviously a super huge favorite against them. That said, though, keep your eye on TT, and if you're in the big field GPPs tonight, you might take a shot on TT, man. They've had only really, really tough opponents. Maybe they catch LNG on a slightly bad day and show us that they're not quite as bad as they've looked so far this season. I could definitely see TT being playable tonight in the bigger fields. They are playing Yay at mid lane. Yay. They've kind of switched that from time to time, but it's going to be Yay this time. But yeah, clearly LNG and Cash. But TT, I think, is a spot where you're going to get the best possible ownership on the slate. I think people are really going to gravitate away from them with LNG playing how they've been playing. But we'll see. I mean, a 2-game slate, it's hard to take advantage of ownership because everybody's going to be I'd be surprised if TT's lower than 10%. You're not going to see single 1% ownership or anything like that, I don't think. Second matchup of the day, Rare Atom at plus 145, Top Esports minus 185. So Top Esports is 1-1 on the year. They played JDG and TT. So they beat TT, they lost to JDG. Rare Atom, they're 3-1 on the year. They lost to EDG, and they've beaten OMG, Victory 5, and LGD. So they haven't beaten anybody of any real quality, but neither has Top Esports. Top Esports only has 1 win against TT. When they played another good team, they lost. So both of these teams have kind of had weak schedules and been beating their bottom tier teams and losing to the higher tier teams. Statistically, Rare Atom 1795 to Top Esports 1877. This one's a little tough to discuss because in theory, Rare Atom with 3 wins and only 1 loss should have better statistics than Top Esports, who's only 1-1. But Top Esports' numbers are also they have less data to bring them in on, so it's kind of harder to say if this is closer to their accurate number, where this is probably more likely to be closer to what Rare Atom's going to achieve over the course of the split. 1795 for Rare Atom, 1877 for Top, plus 73 to plus 99. I was worried about these numbers for Rare Atom. 22 and 33 is pretty low for First Blood, First Turret as far as who's going to pop out to a lead. 50-25 for Top Esports, so that 25 just as low. They're a little bit better with their First Blood. Dragon percentage, it's Top Esports 66 to 53. So these teams are reasonably split on what they're doing well. Top Esports with better GPM, Rare Atom with a better GDM. First Blood goes to Top Esports, First Turret to Rare Atom, and then Dragons go to Top Esports as well. I would make Top Esports a pretty reasonable favorite. They don't win as often as LNG wins, for sure. So, as usual on a 2-game slate, when it comes to GPPs, you're not going to see me running any Top Esports LNG and GPPs. You'll see me with TT or Rare Atom in every lineup. That's just how I do it anyway. But especially on a 2-game slate, I'm not really interested in taking an ownership drop. The ownership as high as it's going to be on Top Esports and LNG, unless there's some sort of weird combinations. Maybe I'll have a look at if there's any sort of weird combinations that might be playable between those two. I think Rare Atom, the odds are correct for me. I think Rare Atom is definitely more likely to beat Top than TT is to beat LNG, but the ownership's going to reflect that. I think LNG should be your highest owned, TT lowest, and then Top Esports and Rare Atom in the middle. Let's look at cash, and then we'll see from a GPP perspective if there's anything that can be done with these two teams. When we're just looking at cash, we'll just want whatever the best lineup they can give us is. They've got a Karsa captain with 4 LNG. That makes sense. 4 LNG seems like the fit. Karsa is the higher projected, so is it possible to swap those if we wanted or no? It is. So you can just get a Tarzan captain. For cash, I would just do this. Even if with the projection being a little wonky like that, if you can get the team that you're for stacking in the captain slot, that's what I would go with when it comes to cash. Tarzan, Ale, Icon, Light. Going with Karsa and Zhuo as your 2 top esports players. That makes some sense to me. You could maybe... Sorry, I'm just looking to see if there's a way to... I know price-wise it probably doesn't play out to do this any other way. Since it's a 50k lock, I'm guessing this is probably the best you're going to get. You get a 574.6 out of it. Looking at... I hate doing stuff on my phone, but really quick, let's take a look and see how the top laners have scored in comparison to the junglers, because top lane has been really big this year. And it's possible that maybe for GPPs, we might get some benefit out of switching to top lane captains. So in Karsa, in Top Esports' is 1 win, Karsa scored 82.2. King Tian, 87.4. So King Tian outscored Karsa in their 1 win. Ale, for LNG, scored 85, 91, 76. 85, 91, 76. So he's outscored Tarzan only once in their last 3 matchups. In the first 2 of the season, Tarzan had 66 and 78. And was outscored in both of those by Ale. So Ale has outscored him 3 out of 5 times. Let me double check that I'm correct on that for you guys. 66 and 78. Yeah. Ale has outscored Tarzan in 3 out of their 5 matchups, and King Tian has outscored Karsa in their only win so far this season. So for cash, I think I would stick with this. Because I do think it's safer. Right now we do have a really top lane heavy meta, but I think for GPP you could kind of balance this by going to the GPPs and playing a top lane captain of LNG and Top Esports. Getting either Ale up in there or getting King Tian up in there. I think that's a good way to make... If the field's not too big, I mean, if you play the $15, people are going to be doing that for sure. But if you go to the... like something like the $100 that's smaller field or the $27 that's smaller field, you could play a top lane captain version of this. And given that you can get the jungle captain version, it makes sense, I think, to take a shot on the top lane version. The thing with top laners is even when it's a top lane meta, there are some top lane picks that are not going to be that heavily involved in team fights, and so I still think it's safer to be on the jungle captains, because junglers are always going to be involved in team fights, and they're always going to be involved in early game like ganking situations, where top laners, on some games they will be, on some games they won't be, and so I still think it's just much safer to be on the jungle captains for cash. But for GPPs, I do like finding some Ale captains or some King Tian captains, even though the projections lean towards the jungle. I think you're going to see the top lanes be very important this season, and there's definitely a decent chance that the top laners end up outscoring the junglers. So that's what I'm looking at for today. I think that lineup for Cash. For GPP, I may play an LNG top esports top lane captain, and then I'll probably be, the rest of my lineups will involve TT or Rare Atom, I think. So that'll be all for me today, guys. Good luck to us tonight. Any questions, as usual, hit me up in the Discord or on Twitter, and I'll answer anything that I can. I will talk to you guys tomorrow when we get back to the 4-game slates, I believe. I'll see you then.